Du-du-du-du.
Nothing left for me to hate, so I can lay me down. My brothers on the ground, I bled today until Coyote comes to raise me up and carries me.
Everybody,
I'm James Bond.
That is ridiculous.
Live and let blog.
Can you hear me okay?
Just as
We
well,
can hear you.
because I was muted.
Yes.
I would have done a brilliant intro as well.
Good. By the skin of my teeth. Let's see how this goes. It's not going well so far. We made it
should
through the
probably
intro
explain
anyway,
what's
and Craig
happened.
didn't have to fill in by talking about tractors, as I frantically messaged him. So, my internet failed halfway through the intro theme song, and I've just literally logged on. I was frantically texting Craig saying, please fill in and talk about tractors for a bit.
And you know,
We've not had to resort to that, so that's good. I don't know, maybe we'll see it for the Patreon.
It
I had a
certainly
full
gets the
conversation about
grass.
PTOs. Don't you worry about that. I can talk about PTOs. I can talk about different types of lubrication. Lots of different things.
It certainly keeps the grassroots borders team happy. So that's
Yeah, I love that. Like Cammy said, unfortunately, we didn't have to resort to talking about tractors. Like everybody who's involved in Scottish rugby doesn't love tractors. It'd be the most popular thing we've ever done.
I don't know, man. Crisp chat's up there.
He's muted himself.
Oh,
I can see Cammy
Cammy's
talking,
unmuted.
but he's muted himself.
I'll unmute him. There we go. Here we go. No, it's not unmuting. It's not letting me unmute him.
Right.
I don't have the power to do these things. I don't know. Hi, everyone. As you may have noticed, we've got some technical issues this evening. Cammy is there somewhere hosting the podcast, but I don't think anyone's told him he hasn't realised his mic's muted, and he's probably disappeared again. As his internet is
now he's back. No, he's
still muted though.
Yeah, hang on a minute. There's a wee. Can I click that button? Aye, I've clicked the unmute mic button on him, but it's.
It says that his mic is not connected. That's the problem, you see. So,
well.
So there we go.
Anyway, Cammy is there. Cammy is there. As you can see,
3 years we've been doing this pandemic thing, and Cammy still can't work out his own mute.
We're gonna have to do it live in person, round the table, single camera, multiple microphones, something like that. Anyway, good evening to those of you that do have an internet connection that works. You are listening to, watching, depending on your platform, the Scottish Rugby podcast, brought to you by the Scottish Rugby blog. My name is Roy Baldwin. I'm the editor of the Scottish Rugby blog, and Cammy Black, the host of the Scottish Rugby podcast, he'll be with us at some point, we hope. Also with us this evening, we've got Johnny McGinty.
Good evening. How are we doing?
We've got
Ian
Hay.
Cammy could tell him he's on mute.
Hello. Yes, I was just unmuting myself while also telling Cammy he's on mute. Hi, everyone.
And we've got renowned tractor expert Craig Manson.
I wasn't talking to anyone about being on mute. I was just thinking about tractors.
Yeah. That's all there is. As usual, you can find us on social media. This is going out, I think, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You can get us through the Scottish Rugby Forum, I think. But yeah, stay away from that.
There's a banner for you.
Ooh. How do I do that? I don't. You see, this is the thing. They put me in charge, but I don't have the power of doing anything. I'm just like.
It's all right. I'll do the buttons.
I'll do the buttons. Yeah. So. It's not like we've got anything to talk about anyway. Nothing to talk about.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
So, we could get the rubbish stuff out of the way. Did anyone watch the Glasgow game at the weekend?
No.
Yeah.
I only had time to be disappointed by one team.
When you say Glasgow, do you mean what one? Because I was at Glasgow Hawks, which meant I missed the Warriors game.
The professional Glasgow Warriors.
I've seen it once on replay, and I currently have it on in case we want to. Man, I was hoping you were going to leave that till later. Can you not fill with?
Yeah.
We can come back to it, because there's been some fairly hairy news for the old.
Yeah,
East
we could go through the news.
In the news, skim here.
In the news, Glasgow lost in South Africa. There you go. We've covered that.
Nice job. Thanks, Rory. Appreciate it.
Probably the biggest bit of non-international news this week was Mike Blair announcing that he was going to stand down as the Edinburgh head coach at the end of the season, in order to focus more on actual kind of day-to-day player coaching. There's nothing that we know really if he's going to stick around at Edinburgh or if he's going to look for a job somewhere else. What do you reckon, Craig? Is he going to be able to work under a different head coach, having been the head coach himself?
Well, he was asked the question on another podcast whether he would consider it, because it has happened before, and he didn't say he wouldn't, but he didn't say he would. So it was he kind of avoided the question a little bit. But I've got a feeling that he did say that. I think it was I don't know if it was John Daly quoted and said basically that you may not have you may not be in work, but you're available for work. And I think there's going to be plenty of people trying to get his signature onto a piece of paper to be their attack coach, because he's done a very, very good job with attack, not only with Scotland, not only with a bit of Glasgow work as well, but also for Edinburgh. So, we're all a bit gutted, to be perfectly honest, but on the other side of things, totally understand and totally see his point, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's actually quite a brave move, Johnny, to sort of admit when you're not necessarily in over your head, but when you're not necessarily enjoying what you're doing or what you've been given to do, and try and find something that's actually more fulfilling.
Yeah, no, it definitely is, and it's quite rare, I think, especially with coaches. They tend to kind of keep going until they're pushed rather than admit it. And Mike Blair's been saying basically since Christmas, the 1872 games, that there was something going on at Edinburgh and he was struggling to work out what it was. Made a huge effort not to put it on the players, which I thought was really impressive. And obviously, he's taken that time since those two games to try and figure it out, and has obviously come to the conclusion that that's a better job for somebody else to do. So fair play to him, I say. Like, not many coaches would put themselves in that position. So I think he's actually done really well, and he's done the best thing for himself and for the club. So,
yep. Are we going to see a situation where he and Townsend are going for the same jobs?
That would be hilarious. I don't think so. I think Townsend probably imagines he's going for a slightly higher caliber of job than Mike Blair.
And his job's going to end
I wouldn't see Mike Blair. Yeah. I wouldn't see Mike Blair going for France attack coach, for example.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen it work, though. Like, Stuart Lancaster stepped down from England, and now he's just Leinster assistant coach, as they've gone on, a ridiculous spree of churning out victory after victory. So, if you go into the right role, and I think Mike Blair's, it's very, like you have said, it's a brave call to say, this isn't for me. But if he knows what he wants to do, and I think he will become, like you said, he wants to become a world-class attack coach, and I think he has that potential because he's just recently-ish retired, still connects with players. When I've heard him, talking at press conferences and stuff, he focuses on players and the good things they do, and he bigs them up, especially his backs division. So I think he'll turn good scrum halves into great scrum halves, and good attacking backs into great attacking back teams. I think he's got real potential.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed some of the coaches that he kind of name checked in his interviews earlier in the week. Brad Moore, obviously, that's consulting with Scotland at the moment, but Dave Rennie and Townsend were two that he sort of said that he'd enjoyed working at. So do you reckon Dave Rennie, Mike Blair, dream team for Edinburgh, Craig?
Now that's a question for that's an interesting one, because I think Dave Rennie was wanting to go back down to the Southern Hemisphere because his wife was missing home. So I'm not entirely sure if he wants to come back up to the maybe the better side of Scotland. You never know, but it's we'll wait.
New Haven's basically surfer's paradise, isn't it? So,
well, that's true. That's true. But no, I don't get me wrong. I don't think there'd be a problem with Dave Rennie, but I don't think he's ready to come back to a URC side. There's lots of talk about Lee Blackett, who was the ex-Wasps coach, who is currently an assistant coach with Scarlets, if I'm right in saying. So there's talk of him, and to be perfectly honest, he would fit a fairly good bill, because his the way the players were playing at Wasps were very attacking. They were an attacking side. The only unfortunate thing about Wasps was that, well, apart from not having any money, was the fact that their defence was fairly poor. So that would be a fairly before anyone says from the Glasgow side of things, that's just normal for Edinburgh. No, I think we've got a fairly good defence, so I would hope if he did come along, we would keep up the defensive skills and keep pushing forward the attack, if you know what I
mean. Other news this week, there apparently has been a feasibility study into the possibility of a women's Lions team. What thoughts on that, guys?
Can't wait. Hope it happens.
Where did you see them to?
think the
You'd
only
have to start in
possible,
New Zealand, surely.
yeah, and I think you'd maybe even have to go with a select side if you can get, because England have been so dominant. I think it was Stella Mills had put a tweet out saying, we have to be realistic here. If it was going to be a Lions team, it would be dominated by England players. But she's absolutely correct, because they were on a ridiculous winning run until that remarkable cup final. But again, that was, well, not that 14. Well, that's the red cards ruin matches, don't they? But sometimes it helps to level them out.
I'm sure we'll get onto that.
So you would have to. I mean, would New Zealand be able to keep? Because England had pumped New Zealand a few times before that game, so you'd have to sort of make sure that the caliber of opponent is ready.
Yeah.
Otherwise it would be a
What
whitewash.
about the situation that we've kind of talked about when coaches have not picked enough Scottish players for the Lions of mandatory minimums? I mean, could you split enforce a kind of equal split on the squad in order to make it so not England dominated, and also maybe make it a slightly more daunting challenge for the Lions, rather than just rocking down there with England plus a couple of other girls and just hammering them?
You could, but then there's a sort of merit issue.
Yeah,
it's tricky as well when they're not all of the unions involved in the Lions are fully professional yet. So we're currently at a stage still like an old-fashioned Lions tour where people could potentially get picked for the Lions and then have to take 2 months off work to go and do it.
Travelling on a rat-infested boat.
Exactly. The
Stuck up in
feasibility
Hong Kong.
study is a good start, and I'm glad that it came back and said that it's possible, because it was kind of squeaky bum time for a while. But I would like to see it happen really soon, but then there's also a part of me that thinks that it's good we've got this thing to say, yes, it can happen. Now let's wait until we can do it properly. For me.
I
Hi, Cammy.
think. Hello, everyone. I'm back. I'm back. Let's see how my internet connection goes. I think there's a missed trick here in, as Rory said, because you've got England is so dominant. Why aren't we looking at North versus South every 4 years? So forget the concept of the line being British and Irish, and just go with a North v South.
Are you trying to sneak an All-Star game in through the back door by starting with a women's game? Is that what's happening here?
Well, yeah. I mean, why not do something different? There's definitely an argument to. It doesn't have to follow everything that happens in the men's game. There were some people kind of pointing that out on Twitter earlier, but yeah, no, All-Star game or the World Rugby Classic, that wouldn't quite work because people play for their countries anyway. It's not like baseball.
So Lions versus a test nation, but with ringers. That's what we're looking at.
Kind
here,
of
but
either, or it's just like a sort of
barbarians kind of deal.
North Bar Buzz versus South Bar Buzz, but in some kind of touring, like swap who goes where, maybe.
As long as it's not in somewhere like Dubai.
Yeah.
Quite
Yeah,
let's be honest,
Start,
it
have
would
one
be-
in Melrose. That's where.
You'd
It's easy to
want
take
it to be.
Sevens tour
You'd
off.
want it to be an actual tour somewhere. You know, if it was in the north, then one country or a couple of countries in the north would host it, and then they'd go south the next time. So you could almost rotate the countries like you did the Lions, but just the makeup of the teams could be slightly different.
Imagine how glorious a kit would look that was just like really thin stripes of white, red, green, and 2 shades of blue. Be amazing. Because you'd have to have France as well.
Yep.
That would look a bit like a sort of golf BHS 90s
Yeah,
polo shirt.
that's pretty much exactly what I'm thinking of.
Oh,
like.
you'd
That
get
would be
the old
amazing.
cotton jersey club on your side with that one, definitely.
Yeah,
Something
right.
they wear in Cheers.
Yes,
Some
and that's
amazing rugby
that's
shirts in
almost
Cheers.
exactly what I'm
Yes.
thinking of.
It's funny though, we've been watching it back, and as soon as Woody Harrelson comes in, Sam stops wearing rugby shirts, and Woody is like the rugby shirt guy. But yeah, there's some great ones.
Cammy seems to have disappeared again.
Cammy's disappeared again. I mean, we'll just crack on talking. Is there any other news you want to look at this week, gents?
Tom Jordan has signed a 3-year contract extension, which means he will eventually become residency qualified. as a 10, in case we need him. Finn's getting on a bit. I don't know, are we calling time on the Blair Switch project, or is he more of a backup option?
I think we'll get onto this when we talk about Saturday or Sunday even. I think the Blair Kinghorn project is complete now in the way that I kind of thought it was going to be completed. I don't think that the Blair Kinghorn project was ever for him to be a full-time 10. We'll talk about it when we get onto the game. But I think we're where we need to be with Blair Kinghorn now.
Well, the thing is that it also one of the biggest things is going to be who comes in next into Edinburgh, because obviously I think it's not. I don't think it's just Tooney that's turned around and went, actually, I want Blair Kinghorn to play 10. I think he's been playing 10 at Edinburgh, and he's been playing well at 10 at Edinburgh. So Tooney's kind of pricked up his ears and thought, right, well, I'll try him out in the tour to Argentina. You may find that whomever walks in decides to play Healy all the time, and Blair goes back to 15. But we've just re-signed Buffelli for a long time, so he's going to be dominating 15 for a long time.
But Immelman's away, isn't he?
Sorry,
Immelman
goes. Yeah, he's away back to South Africa.
And what's the status with Jaco? Because he's back fit, and obviously he was in the Scotland team.
He played against Scarlets last week.
Yeah, he came on at fullback, didn't he? Though
I was playing fullback, didn't
he? Yeah.
So
but when that's him, he's reverse Kinghorned. He's starting at 15 rather than 10, where he's always been. But again, that could be a Mike Blair thing, because Jaco was is it Solomons that signed him?
Cockrell. Was it Solomons? Just right at the end. Yeah.
But it would have been one of those, more pack dominating. We'd use him for territory gains rather than Finn Russell kind of nonsense. Whereas Mike Blair is
the thing. Sorry.
Mike Blair would be more prone to picking a sort of let's attack the line 10.
Yeah, because Jaco was very much is very good defender at 10, down the 10 channel, and he was also a very, very good kicker. Still is a very good kicker. But I think when it came to attack, that's where Blair kind of came into it a little bit more. But then we have, it's just going to be interesting, because we're re-signing a few different people just now, and we'll have to see what happens when it comes to whomever they get to replace Mike Blair, because that was it this week was Angus Williams and Mark Bennett have both re-signed for Edinburgh. So we'll.
Well, I knew there was a big Edinburgh player that re-signed, so yeah, Bennett, that's one, as well as I knew Glasgow had one, then Edinburgh had one.
It looks like it was Cockers that would have signed Vanderbilt in 2017.
Because I'm sure he came in at the similar sort of time as Duhan.
Yeah.
If I remember.
And we were like, look at all these bloody South Africans, who are they? Never heard of them.
Yeah.
Look at them now.
After the Alan Solomons era as well.
They'll never go anywhere.
Yeah. Okay, doke. Well,
how did the Thistles? Was Thistle playing this weekend?
They just lost.
Yeah, just lost. Yeah.
Was it 26-22? I've not seen that. Was that last week?
I think it was it.
There'll be some
I think it was quite close to the Scotland score. I think it was like 31-26 or something. And last bit of very quick, kind of tangentially related international news. Ange Capozzo is potentially out of the rest of the Six Nations, which is good news for us. It's a shame, because I was looking forward to seeing him. But
Anthony Jelonch, who obviously left the field. He got the. He's done his ACL.
Yeah. So happy to try and tackle Duhan.
Yeah.
I say try. He absolutely monstered him, but tore his ACL in the process.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like Duhan was sort of trying to do a DuPont and not go anywhere, whilst an impossible force was leaning against him, but he almost made it. who else won't take any part in the Six Nations? I'm gonna butcher his name now.
Tagbar.
Mohammed Houas,
Oh, Mohammed. Yeah.
banned for flying headbutt.
Has he been banned already, is he? Because I hadn't heard
Yeah,
anything
he's-
about Gilco's.
Well, I've just seen it. 4 weeks. It was 6 weeks initially. Then he got 3 mitigation ticks for admitting he was guilty. The
Remorse
funny one,
apology, guilty plea,
And-
remorse apology, and good conduct.
good conduct. So we're like, what exactly?
Laughably
Good-
enough.
Yeah,
Wait,
so
is that Houas you're talking about? Or
Yeah.
Gilco?
Houas. No,
Good
Gilco, I think
conduct.
is tomorrow.
For getting
The thing
sent
is-
off twice
Yeah,
in a row against
the thing
And
is,
he-
good
and he didn't
conduct
get-
is a
He
separate.
didn't get a tick for being a repeat offender either. It's like an aggravated increase.
Oh, I think he did, didn't he?
No, there's none. No aggravating
low,
factors.
Is it one of these things where it's like he punched someone last time
no,
and
he's-
headbutted somebody
he's
this
got
time,
no
so it doesn't
tick
count as repeat?
Yeah, different crime.
There's no tick for good record. But yeah,
No.
aggravation, 0 matches, repeat offender.
Yeah.
Need for deterrent. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
but the
never
good
gets
conduct
ticked, despite
thing,
the fact
it's just-
the whole point of this is to be a deterrent.
I think he might be getting another week off if he goes to rugby school. That's a rumor I've heard, but I've not seen the full.
Head contact process coaching intervention, is that the same as tackle school?
What?
And he
It means
obviously did.
he'll be back for
Do you know-
Exeter Montpellier if he does that. whatever
I've
that
lost
is.
track of it because Manu Tuilagi got a week taken off his ban for going to tackle school, but his ban was for forearm smashing somebody in the throat who was trying to tackle him. So
Yeah.
did
School.
they just chuck tackle school out for everybody now, even if it wasn't a tackle?
Something for
Got
forearm
different
school.
classes. Yeah. It's like you
Yeah.
have to major in something different.
Fifth
It's-
period
it's 2
forearms.
weeks. Like tackle school is 1 week, so you have to do 3 days of like general tackle school, and then 2 days specific of what you specialised in getting sent off for.
Double
so-
tackle, and then a free period, then headbutting.
So does that mean that Grant Gilchrist is going to get a reduction in sentence for looking like a puppy that's just done a bad thing on the rug or something when he walked off?
Tick any other factors? Yep.
I thought he was going to greet. I thought he was going to greet when he started coming off. The big man just needs a wee cuddle.
Aye. Well, I think that I think his hearing is tomorrow, and we'll find out. But
His
Let's
hearing.
face it, he's-
Hello, I'm back again. I've fixed my internet.
Hey, Cammy.
You can
Excellent.
back off
Hello.
the mic a wee touch as well. Just
head nurse
It's
is
fine,
back,
you'll
and
sort
we can
yourself out.
head
Ooh.
teacher.
You've gone full Anderson.
It's fine. It'll sort itself out. The problem is it takes StreamYard a wee while to find my level, but I'll be fine about here.
it
I'll
must be like
not do the
drummers
heavy
and
breathing
brass.
like John. Where was I? What
I'm
did I
sure,
come in
you-
on
I'm sure
there?
you've been listening, but
I
we've,
have
we've
been.
done
I've been-
most
I've
of the
been-
news.
I've been listening and trying to change Wi-Fi channels, and I've fixed it. You have done most of the news. Well done. You've filled in admirably, Rory.
I would say it's what I do, but it's completely not. So we're flying by the seat of our pants.
Interestingly, Grant Gilchrist's hearing was yesterday.
Oh,
but
was it? I was going to say, I
Mohammed
knew they were a day apart.
Houas's was today, which is weird. So we haven't got. I checked before we came on air, and we haven't got Grant Gilchrist's outcome yet, but we have Mohammed Houas's,
All right.
which.
So,
Well, I can't understand with Mohammed Houas. I don't know why they haven't got aggravating factors. This is the second red card he has against Scotland.
And also, has he not got a real world non-sporting criminal case?
Yeah,
Well,
he's
Nick-
he's,
Nick's
he's
part of
on
the
a
facts.
suspended sentence for burglary.
Was
That's
it was
Stevie,
it
did
him
they
with the
not
hooky
take that
fags?
I thought it was his
Nick cartons
brother.
of fags.
That was it. Yeah.
I'm sure we did 15 minutes on Mohammed
That's
Houas.
this is what a classic French criminal jape. Cartons of fags.
Hope he
Is
was
there
wearing
any
a
more
stripy
French?
top.
Is there any more French criminal activity than nicking a carton of fags?
Depends what they are. Or the Gaulois,
Yeah,
Well,
better
that's true.
bound to be.
But yeah, so I mean, whether or not Mohammed Houas was more straightforward, even though they, I don't know how they've got to 4 weeks, but there we go. Whereas maybe they're looking at more mitigation with Grant Gilchrist, but it's
But if
pretty
we're
clear.
clearly not guilty, then that could be one thing, and then it's
He would be
Yeah.
daft. Surely he'd be daft. Johnny would
Who
be daft.
is-
The
to
SRU's
plead
lawyers
not
we're
guilty.
talking about
Well,
here.
that's true. Unless Mark Dodson has looked at Johnny and gone, just go not guilty, grandson.
Oh, I was just about to say, who is convincing these Scottish players to plead not guilty? Because that's what happened to Xander as well.
Yeah, well,
He
if
played
It's
not
our
guilty
holier than thou attitude.
against Wales.
well, as far as
And,
I'm
like,
concerned, he
it
needs to get
doesn't-
an extra week. He needs to get an extra week
It
for being a
never does any
dachshund owner.
The thing with
I mean, it's a
thing
lot.
with-
48 hours is a long time to be watching Grant Gilchrist's arm to try and work out if he's doing that or if he's doing that, which he's not. He's doing that.
Oh yeah, he's tucking.
Yeah.
So do you
That's
think
great
they're looking at
content
that
for an audio format, Rory.
an audio file? So the whole debate, they're spending 2 days
What, they don't have Zoom?
debating whether he's wrapping the arms on Zoom.
That's a hell of a job.
I mean, maybe they got more angles this time from the
Yeah.
Because like I
The
was
French
always,
have given them the right angles.
when I was looking at it, obviously with my blue specs with the thistle inlays on them, checking it out, I'm like, so has he tried to wrap and then Fagerson's dipped him into
No.
contact? No, and then it's like, no, he hasn't, has he?
The interesting, I don't know if you noticed, I think the French doctor played an absolute blinder there.
He did,
And there
yes.
was there was stuff on social media after in Progressive Rugby who are great, and you should absolutely follow them. Were like, well done for the French doctor for highlighting to the referee that he needed an HIA, and it's like, no, that is absolutely. I've seen that French doctor before. I know absolutely what that French doctor was up to. Was pointing, going, he needs an HIA because someone has smashed him in the head. You might want to look at that. And the fact he entered the field of play whilst Geelong walked back into the line, there's no way Geelong was going off. The doctor just wanted to make him go at the TMO.
He's basically just loitering in the line out like a cockerel that's run onto the
And
pitch until
also-
the referee notices him and stops the
Now,
play.
call me suspicious, but remember the 800-minute long game of France v Wales where somebody went off with a knee injury rather than an HIA, and now all
Same
of
doctor.
a sudden, your launch has got an ACL.
Well, you see, I felt bad after I found out that he did his ACL because at the time when he went down after knocking his head off Duhan's, I guess, shoulder, upper arm, but you could probably convince a French crowd that it was his elbow or something, and that there was some. I was thinking, why is he
A
sitting
French
there?
TV director
kind
could
of,
make it. So.
yeah. Why is the medic making a meal out of this? He's so injured when it wasn't his leg that hit Duhan, it was his head that hit Duhan's arm. And I thought, are they just pretending that his leg's knackered because he needs to sit down because his head's? I don't know. I'm sure they wouldn't do that, but the French doc did play a blinder, as did Sir Dr. James though.
He also, he was straight on the pitch for Ben Whitehouse, waving his arms and telling Ben Whitehouse to stay down.
Yeah,
I think
him
we
and
should-
Wayne both had their
don't
hands
hang
up.
on,
Whitehouse
don't
team.
get Ben White and Ben Whitehouse mixed up.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben White. Hi, sorry.
Unacceptable.
But there was that. Jamie Ritchie had said, so next time I get hit, I should just go down and stay down. And then that's exactly what Ben White did.
Yeah, till my doctor points it out to
Yeah.
you.
That was an
How
interesting.
uncomfortable did Ben Whitehouse look in a suit, by the way, on Sunday? It was really
Yeah.
weird.
Why was he in a suit? That's the other
I don't
question.
know. Really, really, really.
Was it because
odd.
he was in France? I just thought they make him wear a suit because he's in
Mate,
the
do you know,
Straight off
I'm
a
gonna
stag
feel
do.
I'm gonna feel really bad when it turns out he's like super religious and like he wears a suit on Sunday because he goes to
He'd
church.
just
or
been to
something.
church.
It's
Yeah.
like you,
Been to
what
Notre
you?
Dame.
It's like the
Like
Ewan
Ewan
Murray
Murray.
of
Yeah, he's like
of
Ewan Murray.
TMOs. I said, I will work on a Sunday, but I have to wear a suit.
But not on the pitch.
I think it's
I'll
more
work
like
the remote control, but I'm not running.
it's more like a French kind of jazz vibe going on, just suit and tie and smoking woodbines in the the broadcast fan out the
Ben
back.
Whitehouse gives off big like his mum's told him that his gran's watching vibes. This is a
You better
Sunday.
put-
You know your gran will be watching.
Put a suit
You
on.
better dress nicely, Benjamin. I'm serious.
There wasn't. I mean, while we're talking about the red cards, it's probably worth. I mean, Ian, you were talking about this in the group chat earlier this week. The discussion between the Georgian referee and his assistants, and the Georgian referee's interpretation, Ian, on what is head on head. First of all, what is
Yeah.
deliberate, and whether or not that was a red card.
Well, that was going to be my hands in rock was the right. Fair enough, they've come to the right conclusion, but people like saying, we should be defending him. It's admirable that he came to the right decision and wasn't arrogant. He twice tried to say it wasn't the right decision. You know, what if another if one of the other officials had said, "You're maybe right on that point," you'd gone, "Right, cool, it's a yellow card." When everyone can see it. You know, it was a head-on-head contact. First of all, I mean, there's no way that his arms are wrapped. He's used his arms to torpedo himself forward. You know, if they're down by his side like wings. And then he's like, all right, there is head-on-head. High degree of danger. An 18-stone man launching himself towards a scrum half head first. Yes, I'd say that's pretty high degree of danger. And like, this guy isn't the YTS kid. You know what I mean? He's there on merit, or supposedly on merit, because he's done high-level matches. I think D1 and stuff like that. This is a tier 1 rugby match watched by
Mika
millions of people.
Amashekli, he did the second Wales-South Africa test last summer, which is the one that turned out to just be like a war. And as soon as it started kicking off a little bit, he was quite out of his depth. Now, Scotland-France has been pretty tasty a few times recently. Already in this tournament, Carl Dixon was refereeing Ireland-Wales, and when it started kicking off, he basically backed off and let Luke Pearce and Paul Williams handle it. And Luke Pearce was like, "Carl, the real referees will deal with this." And they sorted out the fight, and then Carl went back to reffing. Carl Dixon was like the proper referee man who should have been the like
big brother,
senior voice of reason in that crew, because it was him, Amashekli, and Andrea Piardi, the Italian guy who referees in the URC. That is not, and like, I know that they've got to put referees in that are impartial, and you know there's a limited amount of referees, and we've got to give them experience and stuff. But the way that Scotland-France games have gone in the last few years, that's not the crew that should be on that game.
Was it not? Do you not think there was an element of just, and you know, I don't want to kind of make assumptions about George and rugby at all, but do you not just think he's like going, "Oh yeah, this is just like an average Saturday down the park in George, and just lads smashing each other in the head. This is fine."
This is D2 light. This is. But remember, like Johnny was saying, like Scotland-France games being tasty. There was an incident where I think it was Ben O'Keefe was the man in the middle. And I think it was actually Gilchrist that got pile drivered into the deck by two French players. I can't mind. I think it was Kroos and maybe Valemsa, or what? Like, and I always felt the wrong one ended up getting yellow carded, but Ben O'Keefe wasn't even going to yellow card him until Wayne Barnes came over from like the faraway touchline. Like, nah, mate, seriously, look at this. He's dropped him on his neck. Come on.
This is what I don't understand about the Six Nations. Wayne Barnes was assistant referee on the sideline for Ireland-Italy on the Saturday, which Mike Adamson was refereeing. Like, I know, and like, realistically, I realise that you have to bring these referees on and you want to get the guys who are more experienced, move them to the sides, let new referees be in the middle, and then let them kind of guide them a little bit. But Wayne Barnes and Luke Pearce are far, far too good to be assistant referees. And like an assistant referee in Ireland-Italy, when there's an England-Wales and a Scotland-France game the same weekend, it's absolute madness. Like, obviously, Wayne Barnes isn't going to be a referee for England-Wales, but he could have had that Scotland-France game, put somebody else on the sideline for Ireland-Italy. It's mad.
But then Grant Gilchrist might have been sent off for his first tackle if Wayne Barnes.
Well, that's the situation as well. Was that, you know, it's typical Grant Gilchrist. You know, he gets pinged for one thing and then thinks, actually, I'll just do exactly the same thing again and see how far we go again.
Was that not his first card ever? I read somewhere.
Oh yeah. He's got a very, very good disciplinary record. I was just playing on
he
his.
Gets away with murder.
I was just more playing on the fact that he drives early at line out time regularly, and then just does it again and gets pinged for it, then does it again and gets pinged again. It's just unfortunately Grant Gilchrist. I think he's a very intelligent rugby player at line out time for calling the line outs. He does a very, very good job, but sometimes the penalties he gives away are just stupid at times, because that was a tuck shoulder. Everyone knows that's a tuck shoulder, and he could have got, just as Cammy says, he could have been sent off for the first one, and how the referee missed that one in the first place, and then he just puts it exactly the same hit straight in, but it was a shoulder straight to the head, and it's properly to the point. I'm sure they've got a similar picture to who has smacking Jamie Ritchie in the face, and now they've got Grant Gilchrist elbowing Jalonch in the face.
Why Ben
sorry,
White
shouldering.
Ben White has missed the first one because he was sending a text message to his gran.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Should we talk about the game then? We've dealt with the red cards. I mean, I think conclusively, Craig, we can say that red cards do not ruin games. 2 red cards make
as long
games
as you get 2
better.
of them.
Yeah. 40. I mean, I'm going to advocate. I'm going to say it here. 14 versus 14 rugby is the future.
I was very close to tweeting it, and then I thought, God, no.
League plus. Would you call it League plus or Union minus?
Or was it somebody suggested that every 20 minutes you have to take somebody off? Just so
That's like they do that in touch if the extra time. In touch rugby, you get a drop off where they take a player away every minute or something. Till it's 1-on-1.
There was a demo of Sensible Soccer I had from Amiga Power magazine. Right, oh man, this is pure niche. And
right podcast for that.
The ball was a bomb, and every now
I
and then
remember
it would
that.
go off.
Yeah.
So I would deliberately boot it towards the opposition team to try and get it down to the goalkeeper versus goalkeeper. It's like, right, I'll take my own team out this time.
I remember Sensible Soccer. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
It was like an extra bit. I also made. I think it was might have been FIFA. If you got so many players sent off in FIFA at one point, the match was abandoned. So if you losing terribly to people, just go around and start fouling until you got the match abandoned. It's always the way
5-0
forward.
down, I'll just take a 3-0.
Thankfully, we didn't resort to that.
They're probably thinking about it.
Yeah, it did seem like it was on the cards for a while.
I'm going to ask a question though, and I should know this because obviously I'm meant to be a pundit on a rugby podcast.
Are you?
But meant to be. I said meant to be. I'm actually just here for the tractors. But what Brad Moore, is he in as an attack coach?
Pretty much, he's consulting. He's consulting on the attack, I think, because Pete Horn's not
interim attack coach or something.
Yeah,
because it's.
Pete
I
Horn's
have to say,
apparently specialising in point of contact.
Yeah.
Pete Horn's getting the backs to stop getting turned over out wide, which to be fair is working.
I've noticed a massive change in that, like compared to the autumn, especially. But anyway, sorry.
My point was just the attacking shapes that are coming out of the team at this moment in time out of Scotland are quite. There's something to get me excited about Hugh Jones, because
imagine how I feel.
You just sit and vibrate, Johnny. But it was that was it the last Hugh Jones try where the ball came out and Finn Russell put a really wide pass to Hugh Jones, but it was at a fairly acute angle, and it was miles away from contact, but it just was perfect. And yes, okay, they're saying that Finn Russell's got a lot to do with the attack now. He's now conversing with Tooney and he's involved in the attack. But those sort of, we've seen it in the first 2 games as well. Those sort of little passes that are coming into a totally different attack shape that I've seen Scotland play with are quite. For me, it was quite breathtaking. I was really, really impressed with it. I thought it was, and Hugh Jones. Although Hugh Jones looks like a very, very early computer game soccer player trying to run fast. If you've ever seen it, he's got these wee legs that seem to go. But no, I thought it was fabulous, and hopefully we can keep him involved with the Scotland attack for a little bit more.
The difference to me, Johnny, I think, in this attack is speed from Scotland. It's so much faster, the speed from the base of the ruck, the way that they're playing it, the fact, the passes that they're throwing out. But it's combined with, like you said, it's the Pete Horn, everyone's a defender, everyone's trying to counter-ruck. The backs are... We've not got that situation, I guess, we had against Wales where Zander had to smash into that ruck and get red carded because there was nobody else there. It's... Everybody's putting the body on the line, but everything's happening so much faster than it was.
Yeah, and that's what Pete Horn's been working on with Glasgow as well. And Glasgow's ruck speed is by far and away the quickest in the URC. And you can see it. You can see it in what Glasgow have been doing, and you can see it in what Scotland have been doing. It makes a massive difference. And it is, I think, having players like Sione Tuipulotu, who is first to almost every ruck in terms of backs, and will secure the ball, will pick and go, will play scrum half if he needs to. And I think they've obviously done a lot of work with the kind of new guys who are in consulting on broadening the range of skills, I think, that a lot of the players have got, because everybody seems a lot more comfortable doing a lot more things than they were before, which helps to make us quicker. Because if the first person to every breakdown feels like they can secure the ball, and then the second person to every breakdown feels like they can zip it out from 9, then it is obviously going to be quicker. You're not waiting for your scrum half to arrive. You're not losing the ball because there's somebody there that doesn't want to get in and secure it. It's been huge. It's made a massive difference to Glasgow and to Scotland.
I suppose, Rory, it's hashtag be more Darcy.
Yeah, just be capable of be wee and hard and capable of doing everything. I mean, watching the game back, I thought Stuart Hogg had one of his best kind of defensive performances. I mean, he wasn't sort of left isolated to make last man tackles, which are usually the things that people kind of see and are noticeable as mistakes if he doesn't make them. But yeah, he was getting stuck into rucks and things. And I mean, Finn was as well. I think it was a kind of all hands on deck in terms of the defense. It was good to watch. I mean, it was a very strange game because we were 19-0 down, but it still felt like we were winning. And then you look at the scoreboard, and that kind of brings you back down to earth because obviously it didn't go our way in the end. But
I suppose, I mean, one of the things I was in the group chat saying it, Craig, and I was on Twitter saying it, but I suppose you wonder how much Twickenham 2019 has to play in the mentality of this Scotland team, that, you know, they're 19-0 down, but they know that they had the more territory and the more pressure at that point, and they were never out of that game. And that's a massive kind of psychological shift in the last 3-4 years from Scotland. I mean, certainly since Twickenham 2019, knowing that they can come back and will get back into games, and we saw that against the All Blacks, I guess, in the autumn as well.
Yeah, the big difference between that particular game against England and what we've seen in the last few games in Autumn Nations as well as now into the Six Nations is, I think in England it was more the fact of they just went, you know, Finn Russell came out and said, well, actually I disagreed with Tooney and I took it upon myself to get everyone into the right shape and move forward. So he believed that they could do something, whereas now, from what I can, looking from the outside in, obviously, it looks like that Scotland, all of the players feel that they can do something and are resilient enough. And we didn't win, but I never doubted that we weren't going to push France close all game, even when Finn threw that intercept pass. They just are a team now, for me, that just look like, yeah, okay, I understand where we are, but we're not going to let it go. And we're going to come back and try everything we can. But it seems to be a lot, for me, we're far more, what's the word, accurate. It went a little bit on the weekend, but we have been very, very accurate in our attack.
You wonder, Ian, I mean, how much mental resilience has to play in this? I mean, Hugh Jones particularly is someone that struggled with that. I think particularly after his initial, I suppose, first couple of seasons with Scotland and Glasgow, and then he kind of went on the wane a little bit. And how much of that was down to his coaches at Glasgow at the time? But he certainly went away to Harlequins and found his form a wee bit. But now, we've got a mental skills coach at Scotland, which we've on the podcast been crying out for years, and all of a sudden things seem to click, and the players seem happier with one another, and I suppose to a certain extent has that been kind of the missing ingredient for Scotland all along, that they've lacked somebody doing that kind of mental skills side of things and just kind of trying to rely on everyone clicking.
No, I don't think so, because we haven't turned that corner yet. And also, I'm not sure if Aaron Walsh is he way back home. He seems to like nip home all the time.
I think he's over on a consultancy basis.
Yeah, but sort of on larger scale, with Hugh Jones, I mean, it's one thing that I've refrained from saying on Twitter, but it kind of bugs me all the time. I'm like, you look how well he's playing, and even when we converted him into a 15, it's like we shoehorned him into a 15, where he also did very well. To take a McGintyism, it puts my piss on a rolling boil to think of how he was treated the first time round in Glasgow, because he came straight from a man of the match winning performance in the Currie Cup final. Didn't even tell his teammates, so there's not like for his teammates to focus on him. He didn't even tell them. Just went, right, boys, there we go, sealed that. I've won you the cup. Now I have to go. Love yous. See you. And then he never got given a proper break. He was playing practically a calendar year. He was sorely misused by Rennie. Him and a certain other centre, who, big handsome farmer, kept on getting dropped for Nick Grigg. And not to... Right, Nick Grigg's a decent rugby player, but to suggest that he's better than Hugh Jones, I think is just absolute nonsense. And I think Hugh Jones was really misused, especially under Dave Rennie. Then he gets shifted to fullback. I mean, Hugh Jones is an incredible rugby player. I mean, I think he's probably one of the best, if not the best, outside runner. Like, he can take anyone on the outside. You know what I mean? It's coming from central position, his inside to out run, we always trust him to beat his man. He's got a swerve, he's got pace, he's got power. He's an incredible outside centre, and he was really badly treated. But now, now it's like when I said with Tui Pilato, I wasn't always a big fan of him. But now that he's confident with Glasgow and Glasgow are playing well, but also now that and Hugh Jones has said this as well recently, the fact that they've got Finn Russell beside them, it's just like pick your line, lads, and I'll find you. And this is an incredibly scary back. This is a black line missing Darcy Graham.
Yeah,
statistically one of the best wingers in the world. I
mean, Duhan said that. It was interesting. I was watching an interview on the SRU channel, and they were saying, "Who do you think is the which Scotland players are world class?" And Duhan, it's Shuey actually looked straight on the camera and said, "Darcy," without any kind of irony. He said, "Darcy's the best player I'm playing with at the minute." And the fact that Kyle Steyn, I think Johnny has filled in fairly admirably, and he's done fine, but he's not Darcy.
No, he's not, and I don't think he's ever going to be. To be fair, I think what Kyle Steyn brings is a totally different skill set to Darcy, and actually, he's electric, and he will break tackles, and he runs some really great lines. He's really, really good under the high ball, but he's not going to do the things that Darcy does, which is like make stuff happen from absolutely nowhere. Like Darcy can step 3 people in a phone box. And Steno probably would get a positive outcome in the same situation, but he's not necessarily going to score a try. Like Steno could power through it. If he finds himself in that situation, he could power through a tackle and he could set up the next phase, and he's not going to cost us anything because he's great at that. But Darcy might step all 3 of those people and score, and that's the difference, I think.
See, I just remember that try against the All Blacks when he picks up, was it Caleb Clark that? Yeah, once he's got away from Caleb Clark's diving tackle and he's one-on-one with Geordie Barrett, and Geordie Barrett's like 9 foot tall, I was like, he's going to step him. I was like, he's got this. As soon as he got that ball in that position, once he got away from Clark, I was like, this is our try all day. I think the only other person who could do it in that fashion would be Shane Williams, practically, or Colby. But the way that Graham just stepped this monster of a man, it's like, he is absolute class.
It feels, Rory, very strange to be sat here, and we're almost gushing about that Scotland performance, given what the final result was. And it's quite a strange thing. I don't know. We've won the first 2 games. Yes, we've lost the third, but we're still second in the table, which seems ludicrous. This is massively unfamiliar territory for us as Scotland fans.
Yeah, it's very unfamiliar, and it's it's probably certainly at this point, it seems like it will probably be one of the best, if not the best, Six Nations results that we're ever going to have had, which is not too difficult to beat. But it's a strange one because, I mean, if you watching the opportunities that Scotland left out there compared to the opportunities that France left out there. I mean, France had that one try before halftime, which the referee chalked off for, I'm not sure, they took the quick line out squint or too soon.
The clock was already red when they
clock was red, yeah, so they couldn't. So he didn't let them away with that. There was one where Ben White held the guy up over the line. Held up.
Well, that was phenomenal work from Ben White, by the way.
Amazing.
Yeah, what was like? Everyone went on about the Dupont holding up the guy over the line the other week, and then that was Ben White holding up Anton Dupont.
Yeah. So I mean, they're comparing that to the number of chances that Scotland had that they left. You know, I mean, there's probably, I know multiverses are the rage these days, but there's an alternative universe where Scotland won that with a bonus point. I mean, France probably got 2 bonus points as well, but like Scotland could quite easily have won that almost at a canter. It seemed like at some points in the game, if it wasn't for that 19-0 margin that they kind of gave up early doors. There's still a big question to be answered about why Scotland are. I mean, they've kind of reduced it from a half of rubbish to 20 minutes of not being as hot at the start of a game, and then obviously having these blinding second half recoveries, and that's fine. But we've got the best team in the world coming up, and they're probably the worst team other than maybe South Africa for Scotland to try and chase, because we're not good at breaking down these kind of big physical teams, even though Ireland are a slightly different monster than they've been traditionally. But yeah, I mean, I think it felt to me like we made France play worse than Ireland made France play, if that makes sense. Like, yeah. I mean, Ireland made France look, that was a great game, obviously, but they looked considerably better than the 1-2 gap would have you believe. And I thought that France were making quite a lot of errors that are quite uncharacteristic. You wouldn't expect them to make those errors at home. They've still got the tournament on the line. I mean, there's, as it is, they did enough. But yeah, it was just weird. I think we're probably not used to seeing Scotland playing as well, playing as confidently, almost comfortably. I mean, it's
the weird thing about it is that like they still look like they can get a lot better.
Yeah,
like everyone, like I think we all think we sat and watched Scotland play quite well and lose, unfortunately, on Sunday. But actually, when you go back and look at it and think about what happened, they could play better, and all the players are saying they could play better. And now, with 2 games to go, whether we win the Six Nations or not is entirely in our own hands, which has never been the case before.
This, if Scotland have to, and this is it's a little bit kind of dreamy and whatever, but if Scotland beat Ireland with a try bonus point and deny Ireland a losing bonus point, then they're joint on points with Ireland going into a game against Italy.
What if we denied Ireland a losing bonus point but lost a try bonus point to them?
We'd be 1 point behind them.
Yeah.
So then you're much more reliant on the results.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, no,
the thing is that
I saw this argument and somebody said, would you be supporting England if that happened? I said, yes, I would be wearing a crusade. I was like,
100%, yeah.
I'd be full crusadered out, belting Swingle, Sweet Chariot.
The first time ever in history that Murrayfield back pitches actually singing people that actively support England.
At the moment, Ireland are on plus 50 points difference and Scotland are on plus 23.
Yeah.
So if we beat them by 10 points with a try bonus point, we are 7 points behind them and going into playing Italy on the last day.
And you know what's funny is that usually we go in, but have we played Italy to put our points difference up yet? But it's like, have we both played Wales to put our points difference up? Sorry about
France.
people.
This is the thing, but France are also, if we beat Ireland, that would put France back in contention because France are also on 10 points. France have played Italy, but they haven't played Wales
England,
yet.
And they play Wales on the last day. In between us and Ireland, England.
Frustratingly, there's a lot of England supporting we're going to have to do in the next couple of
Yeah.
rounds.
Is it also? But presumably, it's also possible that all these England wins that we're relying on are going to catapult England back into the reckoning.
I don't
unlikely
think
as
so.
it seemed at the
England
start.
are on. Well, yeah, England are also on 10 points. I forget. I'm ignoring England because they've been rounded rubbish, but they're also on 10
Yeah.
points
'Cause
as
we
well,
hammered them.
So
That's
Yeah.
how they won it during the COVID times. Was they were like, oh, they lost the first two games
Sneaking
or
up.
something, then they
I think I worked out that ideally what we want to happen
draws.
in the Ireland draws. Yeah,
A couple of
in
draws would help.
in the England France game is like another result like England had at the weekend. If they could beat France 20-10, get themselves 4 points and stop France from getting any, that kind of makes it a little bit more comfortable for
that's
us.
doable.
no
That's not
BPs.
undoable.
Yeah.
I think
Keep
France
people.
England will be a tussle, surely, even though they're both professing to play attacking rugby.
Yeah.
There's the weather as
Exciting
well.
times,
There's a
though.
ridiculous cold snap coming. There's going to be snow and
Yeah.
all sorts. So the weather might start turning games into slugfests.
Yeah.
Who,
We shall see.
if it's a massive snowstorm next Sunday for Scotland Ireland, who does that help? Do you think us or Ireland?
Them.
Ireland will find it easier to revert to type than we
Yeah.
don't have a type. We're
Yeah,
just
it also
perfecting our type, but
it helps them in that it probably makes us getting a try bonus point much less likely.
Yeah.
yeah,
which-
there's that thing. Do we chase this mythical try bonus point in the hunt for, or do we just try and concentrate on actually just for once beating Ireland?
Craig, what are you going for? Do you go full out? Let's go for the championship, or you just take the win and see where you go from there?
For me, I think I'm going to give the typical boring answer of let's just deal with the game on the day, and I'm looking for the win, Triple Crown,
Yeah,
and see where we are. I'd love to see a championship. That would be a fantastic reward for how well the team are playing at the moment. But for me, it's a let's just get the win against Ireland and see where we are. And can I just give a big shout out to George Turner? I was really impressed on the week. He was fabulous. And can we have you and Ashman back, please, instead of Fraser Brown?
I think.
I mean,
Can't believe
I
we don't
was-
want Dave Cherry.
Well,
or Johnny Matthews. There's so many options.
Johnny
come
Matthews
on
Time
now.
Machine.
Now you're just getting silly.
All right.
Um,
All right, sorry, Craig.
I mean, just before everyone blames Fraser Brown for losing the game with that line out, we should remember that George Turner fluffed the line out straight after the Haas red card, where we were camped on
True.
their line and could have easily got back into the game a lot earlier.
And it's never clear. It's always difficult with lineups because you don't know is it the jumper's fault or Fraser Brown's. I mean, he did Hoyt like 60 feet above Jamie Ritchie's head,
It was
but
dead straight though.
it was straight.
Well,
That's true.
somebody did point out that Jamie Ritchie, I think it was John Barclay actually, pointed out that he thought that Jamie Ritchie was just up fractions of a second too late, and that's why it went through his hands. But I didn't see any higher to actually catch the ball after the ball had gone past. But then maybe I was just too busy sweating at the telly.
And on that note, that is it for this week's main podcast. We'll carry on with the Patreon podcast in a moment for our Patreons. We'll be back next week with a preview of Ireland. We've got some other bits and bobs to discuss as well. We didn't get round to talking about the increase in the scientific research that's shown about the increased risk of concussion in women rugby players. Unless that was why my net dropped, but we've got that to discuss next week.
No, sorry.
Ian,
Quick news to appease Craig's farmer bunch. Congratulations to Hoyk on finishing the Premier season unbeaten. 18 games unbeaten. Drew the first one, 20 each with Selkirk. Then won 17 games in a row. So there's your 10th Premiership update. Top four are Hoyk, Curry, Ackies, and Mar. So Hoyk will go to Mar, Curry will be at home to Ackies, and so on, what have you.
Hoyk have only
And
been good
GT
since they
have
got
won
rid of the other 300 clubs that there were in Hoyk at one point.
Well, you take that up with the Farmers Union down in the
The
bottom.
Hoyk
The
trades,
machine.
those Hoyk trades. Hoyk,
I demand to know
Hoyk YM.
I demand to have a poll of what tractors they use and what manufacturers they prefer. I want to know that.
Craig would like
Incidental
to know
benefit,
what sort
Craig,
of power washing
privileged
situations you've all got.
If you send your tractor brands in, I'll put a poll up on Twitter and you can all vote for it. But I can only have
we'll get that
4
sorted.
answers. Yeah.
Oh, I can do
Only
that. I can
4
give you
choices.
4.
Yeah,
And one of them
we'll
has to be Ali Price.
test them.
Ali Price is the best tractor. And on that note,
Yeah, for example.
it is goodbye from me and goodbye from Johnny, Ian, Craig, and Rory.
Bye, all.
Bye.
See you on it.